In a CNN News 18 mega exclusive, we are learning that at the Gaza Peace Summit that's scheduled to take place in Egypt on Monday, the Egyptian President el-Sisi and US President Donald Trump will chair the summit. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is also going to participate. The United Nations General Secretary General as well as the UK Prime Minister Starmar said that they would attend along with Italy's Meloni and Pedro Sanchez of Spain. French President Emmanuel Macron and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif have also confirmed their attendance. We're going to try and get all those details, but the big news was that despite the fact that the Prime Minister was invited for the Gaza Peace Summit, he has excused himself. India is going to be represented by the MOS state, Kirti Vardhan Singh, but attending others are the heads of government and states of Italy, of Spain, Egypt, of course, because they are the host country, the American president, because he's co-chairing it, the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. All of them will be attending this, which is essentially going to work on the blueprint to bring everlasting peace between Israel as well as Gaza. Remember, the Prime Minister had acknowledged and congratulated all the stakeholders, which is Netanyahu as well as American president, for finally brokering that peace in Gaza and hoping that finally development and peace returns to the area. But the nitty-gritty of the Gaza Peace Summit the nitty-gritty of the Gaza Peace Plan is going to be sorted out at the Gaza Peace Summit, which is going to be hosted and held in Egypt. And it is being co-chaired by the American President Donald Trump, who has publicly patted himself by saying that I'm the one who brokered the peace between Israel and Gaza. With this years of conflict between the two is expected to see a closure. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was also invited, but he will not be going. In fact, India is going to be represented by MOS state Kirti Vardhan Singh, and India, as we said, has always welcomed this kind of peace, and in fact not just peace between Israel and Gaza, but also peace in the world. This is a mega exclusive details that we're getting of the Gaza Peace Summit, which my colleague Manoj Gupta has got for us, and I'm going to try and get one of our colleagues to join in. What we are learning is that at the Gaza Peace Summit, which is scheduled to take place in Egypt on Monday, the Egyptian President Sisi and US President Donald Trump will chair the summit. Okay, Anand Narasimhan is now joining us on the phone line. Anand, a big summit, but also a big statement coming in from India when we are not going to be taking part at the Prime Minister's level. Kirti Vardhan Singh will be there. Will peace get a chance there?
Well, that's a big question, but the other thing is that there are almost 20 nations whose leaders are going to be present there. They're going to be involved. Bharat's presence is symbolic. It doesn't very clearly perhaps says that thanks everyone that there is peace all around, but somewhere perhaps would want to see whether or not it's fair justice and all sides are dealt with fairly, because there is a big sentiment in Bharat which believes that the Palestinians have not yet got the fair end of the deal. So one will have to see how that shapes. And Prime Minister, because of his current and pressing engagements, has not been able to travel, but Bharat's representation will be there via the MOS. So it shows that we are in there for peace, but somewhere it's also a delicate signaling to say that a few nations cannot bulldoze their way. Peace cannot be bought, and peace has to will come only when all sides feel that they have been dealt with fairly.
And also, we have always acknowledged the fact that peace should be given a chance there. There has been a degree of cynicism about whether peace can actually come between Israel and Gaza in that sense. But with so many world leaders attending the Gaza Peace Summit, what do you think is the larger messaging? It's not just about Israel and Gaza. It's about the fact that, peace should be given a chance as far as global politics goes.
It does, but some of these nations, Pallavi, we must understand, also came out and espoused a separate Palestinian state, and they made those declarations openly. Now, is there a separate Palestinian state? What are the terms of engagement? Or it all depends on whether or not hostages are released without any terms or conditions. Is Israel still bombing certain parts of Gaza? So why are those bombings and those firings and those still happening? Is Hamas still trying to mobilize cadre? What happens with the Hamas and its leadership? Will they be now be rendered defunct? Will there be who will be and will the Palestinians accept that? If all along the narrative has been that the Hamas has imposed itself on the Palestinian people as per the Israelis, and this whole aspect has got to be about peace and not about profiteering. In the garb of trying to say that we'll bring economic prosperity to this region and a certain level of stability, who's going to control the narrative? We must remember that this region has been the conflict zone for centuries now, and it is also the most coveted piece of real estate on earth. So who controls the narrative here will be very, very important, and on what terms. And will this peace last beyond Donald Trump's next 3.5 years? That's the big question. What is the stake that the Gulf nations have? What is the stake that some of the other nations who are engaging with both Iran and Palestine and Israel, what will they do? So these are all aspects which are important, and this is not a deal where Bharat has been very, very actively involved or has been engaged in trying to broker. So that's the reason why the Prime Minister is not going to be at the forefront, because Bharat is going to watch what are the terms eventually, and what is the overall sentiment, because they respect the sovereignty and the security of every nation. Israel is a friend, but so is Iran. So that's something that Bharat is going to watch very, very carefully, and somewhere the world should also watch that there should be, in all fairness, a resolution to this conflict. Otherwise, Hamas may set up base elsewhere, and some other piece of real estate will be converted into a whole array network of tunnels if the doctrine of wanting to erase Jews from the face of the earth continues to survive. So that also has to be done away with. So will nations agree to that? That's the big question.
And you're absolutely right, Anand, because there's also evidence which was put out by our government to show that Hamas has also been encouraged by Pakistan. But do stay with us, because there is an important